Let me paint you a picture of American arrogance done right. It's 2012, and a $41,000 Ford Mustang just embarrassed BMW's benchmark at Laguna Seca. Motor Trend's professional driver Jonathan Bomarito pushed the Boss 302 to 140.21 around the iconic track, faster than any M3 had ever managed on that same pavement. German engineering executives are reaching for their blood pressure medication, and Ford engineers are doing donuts in the parking lot. 444 horsepower, 444. Screaming all the way to 7,500 RPM like a naturally aspirated European exotic that somehow learned to speak with a Michigan accent. But here's where it gets absolutely unhinged. This engine makes 10 pound-feet of torque less than the standard Mustang GT. 380 versus 390. Ford deliberately made their track car weaker on paper and faster on every track that matters. I hate how much I love this logic. This wasn't a sledgehammer, this was a scalpel. Ford's engineers looked at every muscle car cliché, big torque, drag strip launches, straight line heroes, and said, what if we built the opposite? What if we built a Mustang that doesn't just accelerate hard, but actually turns? What if we stopped building quarter-mile kings and started building apex hunters? Plot twist. They actually did it. Ford had one target, one obsession, one German ghost haunting their engineering meetings, the BMW M3. The M3 had been the benchmark for decades, and the E92 was its latest evolution. The car every reviewer compared everything to, the standard, the king, and Ford looked at their solid rear axle Mustang, the car Europeans laughed at, and declared, war. Now let's appreciate how absolutely insane this mission was. The M3 had independent rear suspension, sophisticated, precise, German. The Mustang had a solid axle, a literal bar connecting the rear wheels like it's still 1965. Enthusiasts worldwide agreed, you cannot build a proper track car with a live axle. Physics doesn't allow it. Engineering says no. And Ford said, hold my American beer. They called it the Roadrunner, the Boss 302's special engine. Same 5-liter Coyote block as the GT, but CNC-ported cylinder heads that flow like poetry. High-lift camshafts that make the engine breathe like an athlete. A velocity stack intake manifold that looks like it belongs on a Le Mans prototype. Twin independent variable camshaft timing working overtime. Hell froze over and Detroit built something brilliant. This wasn't just an engine, this was mechanical art. Disgustingly well engineered. Let that marinate for a moment. Ford built an engine that makes less torque, on purpose, so it could scream to higher RPM and make the car more balanced. They sacrificed the drag strip for the road course. In America, in Michigan, in a Mustang. The suspension was manually adjustable, not some fancy computer-controlled system, just flathead screwdriver adjustments on the shock towers that let you stiffen things up for the track. 14-inch Brembo brakes up front with 4-piston calipers, Pirelli P0 tires, 255 up front, 285 in the rear, staggered width for maximum grip, and a Torsen-limited slip differential that actually puts power where it needs to go. But wait, it gets more brilliantly insane. Ford offered something called TracKey for $302, 302, for a Boss 302. A red key, separate from your regular key, that reflashed the entire engine management system. Different cam timing, aggressive fuel curves, modified spark advance, and launch control. 2 keys, 2 personalities. Jekyll and Hyde for $300. With the regular key, you had a civilized, well, relatively civilized, muscle car. You could drive it to work without your fillings rattling loose. But insert that red TracKey, and the Boss 302 woke up angry. The idle changed. The throttle response sharpened. The whole car felt like it was straining against an invisible leash. Ford literally sold you 2 different cars for the price of one. Motor Trend took the Boss 302 to Laguna Seca Raceway, the corkscrew, the most famous corner sequence in American motorsport. I checked my notes 3 times because this is actually good, with professional driver Jonathan Bomarito behind the wheel for their first test feature. This was where reputations are made and destroyed, where horsepower means nothing and chassis balance means everything, where the M3 had been the benchmark for years, and where the Boss 302 showed up to prove itself. 1 minute, 40.21 seconds. Carve that into granite. The Boss 302, with its primitive solid axle, ran 140.21 at Laguna Seca. To put that in perspective, Motor Trend's lap time database showed the BMW M3 at 142.96, the Chevrolet Camaro SS at 145.72, more than 5 seconds slower. The Boss didn't just compete, it embarrassed everything in its price range. Offensively fast. Still with me? Good, because here's where it gets absolutely absurd. Motor Trend's Laguna lap records also showed the Audi R8, a mid-engine German exotic, at 140.75, half a second slower than Ford's TracKey Mustang, a $41,000 pony car posting better times than a $100,000-plus supercar. And the Shelby GT500, Ford's own 550 horsepower monster? Motor Trend's Laguna lap records showed the GT500 at 144, nearly 4 seconds slower than the Boss 302. Less power, less torque, less everything on paper, and faster everywhere that counted. The scalpel carved up the sledgehammer and left it bleeding in the corkscrew. I'll wait while you process that. A naturally aspirated 444 horsepower Mustang with a solid rear axle beat BMW, Chevrolet, Audi, and its own supercharged big brother. Ford engineers were either geniuses or completely insane, probably both. For those who wanted even more track focus, Ford offered the Laguna Seca edition. Rear seat delete, because weight is the enemy. An X-brace in the trunk for rigidity. Recaro bucket seats with harness pass-throughs for when you inevitably start tracking it seriously. And unique aerodynamic elements that looked absolutely menacing. Total production? About 8,300 units over 2 model years. That's it. The Laguna Seca version? Only 1,514 total. 767 in 2012, 747 in 2013. And the Laguna Seca had its own exclusive colors that regular Boss owners couldn't get. Ingot silver in 2012, school bus yellow in 2013. You're more likely to spot a unicorn than a school bus yellow Laguna Seca. In 2012, the Laguna Seca came in black or ingot silver, both with exclusive red accents. Red cross brace, red seat inserts, red grille surround. That black with red combo? Exclusive to Laguna Seca. Regular Boss couldn't get it. In 2013, they switched to black or school bus yellow with reflective gray stripes. The color combinations were the flex, not just the colors themselves. Base MSRP, $40,995. With the TracKey option, $41,297. For context, the BMW M3 started around $60,000. The Audi R8, over $100,000. The Boss 302 was giving you 80% of the exotic experience for 40% of the money. This wasn't just value. This was Grand Theft German. $41,000. Beat the M3, beat the Camaro, beat the R8, beat the GT500. With a solid axle, Ford engineers should have been arrested for making the Germans cry. For 2013, Ford added HID headlamps with LED signature lighting. LED tail lamps. Functional hood extractors that actually vented engine heat. And track apps, a digital accelerometer, 0 to 60 timer, quarter-mile timer, and a virtual drag tree. The car could now time itself, destroying your previous personal best. 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Quarter-mile in 12.8 at 113 miles per hour. Those massive Brembo brakes hauling it down from 70 in just 160 feet. These weren't supercar numbers. These were competitive supercar numbers from a car you could daily drive and actually afford to insure. Car and Driver called it one of the greatest driver's Mustangs ever built. Motor Trend's track testing proved it could hang with cars costing twice as much. Motor Week praised the combination of track capability with everyday usability. Edmunds noted you needed a perfect launch, no spin, to maximize that solid axle. Publication after publication agreed. Ford had created something special. For years, enthusiasts mocked the Mustang's rear suspension. Truck axle, they sneered. Can't handle, they laughed. The Boss 302 was Ford's response, not with a complete redesign, but with proof that engineering excellence can overcome theoretical limitations. Uncomfortably impressive. Sometimes the wrong way is actually the right way, if you're smart enough. The Boss 302 proved that America could build precision, not just power. That Ford could out-engineer Germany on a road course. That a muscle car could be a driver's car. This wasn't just a vehicle, It was a philosophical statement wrapped in race red paint and screaming at 7,500 RPM. Boss 302 owners didn't just drive their cars, they tracked them. These became instant track day heroes. Owner forums exploded with lap time comparisons. People were flying across the country to attend Boss 302 track events. A community formed around a car that actually delivered on every promise Ford made. Think about that timeline. Announced, delivered, dominated. No excuses, no asterisks. No, but the M3 had different tires. Ford went to war with Germany, and won. Today, clean Boss 302s, especially Laguna Seca editions, are commanding serious collector premiums. Competition orange examples sell for double their original MSRP. Low-mileage TracKey cars are investment grade. What Ford sold for 40 grand is now worth 80 plus and climbing. 2 model years, 2012 and 2013, and it was gone. Ford moved on to the S550 platform. The solid axle finally retired. But the Boss 302 had already proven its point. It wasn't a compromise. It was a triumph. Ford didn't need to keep making it. The message had been delivered, with German blood on the stopwatch. The Boss 302 proved that you don't need independent rear suspension to build a track monster. You don't need forced induction to create a screamer. You don't need German heritage to beat German engineering. You just need engineers who refuse to accept impossible, and a company brave enough to let them try. Boss 302. Words that meant something in 1969 and mean something now. Ford didn't just slap a heritage name on the appearance package. They earned the right to use it. The original Boss 302 was built for Trans Am racing. The 2012 Boss 302 was built for everything. Track days, canyons, and embarrassing your neighbor's M3. Looking back, what Ford accomplished seems impossible. Take a muscle car platform, add precision engineering, subtract torque. Yes, subtract. Create a naturally aspirated screamer. Keep the solid axle. Beat the best Germany has. Price it affordable. And make it beautiful doing it. The 2012-2013 Boss 302 wasn't just a great Mustang. It might be the greatest Mustang ever built for actual driving. Not the fastest in a straight line. The GT500 wins there. But the most complete? The most balanced? The most hold my beer and watch this at a road course? Boss 302, no question. So here's what I need to know. Would you take the Boss 302 over the M3? Would you trust Ford's solid axle scalpel over BMW's independent suspension precision? Would you bet 40 grand on Detroit against Munich? Let me know in the comments, because this fight isn't over yet. Next time on Car Chronicles, we're looking at another American car that had no business competing with Europeans, but did it anyway and left them speechless. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you even doing? Hit that button, because missing these stories should be illegal. This is Car Chronicles, where we prove that sometimes the wrong way is exactly the right way. The Boss 302 showed us that limitations are just invitations for creativity, that engineering excellence beats expensive hardware, and that sometimes, just sometimes, America builds something so perfect that even Germany has to tip their hat.